Filter out. To separate impurities or solid particles from a liquid or gas. Synonym for filter out. Remove, extract, strain, purify, cleanse, sieve. The air purifier filters out pollutants and allergens, ensuring cleaner air in the room. The coffee filter effectively filters out the coffee grounds, leaving behind a smooth brew. The water treatment plant filters out contaminants before distribution. Blend in. To mix or combine substances to create a homogeneous mixture. Synonym for blend in. Mix together, merge, homogenize, unify, fuse, intermingle. Stir the ingredients thoroughly to blend in the spices and herbs for a flavorful sauce. The new paint color needs to blend in seamlessly with the existing wall paint to maintain a cohesive look. Blend in the spices to enhance the flavor of the dish. Boil down. To reduce a liquid by boiling, often to concentrate flavors or substances. Synonym for boil down. Reduce, concentrate, simmer, condense, simplify, narrow. The lengthy discussion was boiled down to a few key points for the presentation. Boil down the sauce until it reaches the desired thickness. To make the syrup, you need to boil down the sap collected from maple trees until it thickens. Evaporate off. To cause a liquid to turn into vapor and dissipate. Synonym for evaporate off. Vaporize, dissipate, disperse, vanish, sublimate, evanesce. Allow the solvent to evaporate off, leaving behind the solid compound. Leave the lid off the pot to allow excess moisture to evaporate off, resulting in a thicker sauce. After washing the wet clothes, hang them outside to let the water evaporate off in the sun. Dilute with. To reduce the concentration of a substance by adding another, typically a liquid. Synonym for dilute with. Thin with, water down, weaken with, add water to taper with, soften with. Dilute the concentrated orange juice with water according to the instructions on the package. The chemist diluted the strong acid with distilled water to create a safer solution for the experiment. Dilute the solution with water to achieve the desired strength. Absorb into. To take in and become part of a substance or material. Synonym for absorb into. Assimilate into, soak into, imbibe into, engulf into, ingest into, incorporate into. The sponge will absorb the liquid into its pores. The dry soil quickly absorbs water into its porous surface after rainfall. Apply the lotion to your skin and massage gently to allow it to absorb into the skin. Separate out. To isolate or extract one component from a mixture. Synonym for separate out. Extract, isolate, divide, filter, part, segregate. The centrifuge machine separates out the heavier particles from the liquid solution through centrifugal force. Use a strainer to separate out the noodles from the boiling water when they are cooked. Use a centrifuge to separate out the heavier particles from the liquid. Infuse with. To introduce or incorporate one substance into another. Synonym for infuse with, imbue with, inject with, instill with, introduce into, permeate with, suffuse with. Infuse the oil with herbs to enhance its flavor. The chef infuses the olive oil with garlic and herbs to enhance its flavor before drizzling it over the salad. Steep the tea bag in hot water to infuse it with the aromatic flavors of the spices and herbs. Precipitate out. To cause a solid substance to form and settle in a liquid solution. Synonym for precipitate out. Settle out, fall out, deposit, settle, form a precipitate, drop out. Adding a chemical reagent to the solution causes the metal ions to precipitate out as insoluble compounds. Cooling the solution may precipitate out crystals of the dissolved compound. As the temperature drops, salt crystals precipitate out of the saturated saltwater solution. React with. To undergo a chemical reaction with another substance. Synonym for react with, interact with, respond with, combine with, engage with, counteract with, clash with. When sodium metal is added to water, it reacts with the water to produce hydrogen gas and sodium hydroxide. Oxygen in the air reacts with the iron in the steel, causing it to rust over time. The acid will react with the metal to produce hydrogen gas. Neutralize with. To counteract the effects of one substance by adding another. Synonym for neutralize with, counterbalance with, offset with, balance with, nullify with, compensate with, cancel out with. The acidity of the soil was neutralized with lime to improve its fertility for crop cultivation. Neutralize the acidic solution with a base to achieve a balanced pH. In chemistry, acids are often neutralized with bases to create neutral solutions. Permeate through. To pass or spread through a substance, often referring to liquids or gases. Synonym for permeate through, penetrate through, spread through, filter through, diffuse through, soak through, saturate through. Infiltration of groundwater contaminants can permeate through soil layers, affecting water quality. The aroma of freshly baked bread permeated through the entire house, making everyone hungry. The aroma of the spices permeated through the entire kitchen. Condense into. To change from a gaseous state to a liquid state. Synonym for condense into, solidify into, coalesce into, compact into, compress into, concentrate into, condense to. When the steam cools down, it will condense into water droplets on the surface of the cold glass. The steam will condense into water droplets as it cools. The warm, moist air from the shower can condense into foggy condensation on bathroom mirrors. Sublimate into. To change directly from a solid to a gaseous state without passing through a liquid phase. Synonym for sublimate into. Transition into vapor, convert into gas, evaporate directly into, transform into gas, turn into vapor, change state into gas. In cold winter conditions, frost can sublimate into a vapor without melting into liquid water. The ice crystals in the frozen food began to sublimate into vapor when it was left out at room temperature for too long. During experiments in a vacuum chamber, certain solid substances were observed to sublimate into a gaseous state when exposed to heat. Precise measurement. To measure with great accuracy or exactness. Synonym for precise measurement. Accurate measurement, exact measurement, precise quantification, exact quantification, fine measurement, rigorous measurement. Precise measurement is crucial when dealing with chemical reactions. The scientists conducted precise measurements of the chemical concentrations in the solution using advanced analytical techniques. Engineering requires precise measurements to ensure the components fit together accurately. Decompose into. To break down into simpler substances through chemical processes. Synonym for decompose into. Break down into, dissolve into, fragment into, disintegrate into, divide into, separate into. Sunlight can cause certain pollutants to decompose into harmless compounds. When heated, some compounds decompose into their constituent elements. Organic matter in compost piles decomposes into simpler substances like humus, enriching the soil. Incorporate into. To include or absorb a substance into a larger entity. Synonym for incorporate into. Integrate into, assimilate into, blend into, merge into, fuse into, include into. The new software update will incorporate into the existing system seamlessly, enhancing its functionality. Incorporate the dye into the fabric to achieve the desired color. The chef decided to incorporate fresh herbs into the recipe for added flavor. Saturate with. To fill or impregnate a substance to its maximum capacity. Synonym for saturate with. Fill with, imbue with, drench with, soak with, flood with, suffuse with. After hours of soaking, the sponge became saturated with water and couldn't absorb any more. To maintain the moisture level of the plant soil, you should saturate it with water every few days, ensuring it doesn't dry out. To intensify the flavor of the dish, the chef suggested saturating the chicken with a blend of aromatic herbs and spices before grilling. Look up. To search for information in a text or reference book. Synonym for look up. Research, search, consult, investigate, examine, explore. If you're lost in a new city, you can look up directions on your smartphone's map application. Students often look up unfamiliar words in the dictionary to understand their meanings. If you don't know the word, you can look it up in the dictionary. Read through. To peruse or go through a text from beginning to end. Synonym for read through. Peruse, scan, review, study, go over, examine. The editor needs to read through the manuscript to ensure it meets the publication standards. Make sure to read through the instructions before starting the assignment. Before submitting the report, it's essential to read through it carefully to check for any errors. Pick out. To choose or identify specific information from a text. Synonym for pick out. Select, choose, identify, extract, single out, pinpoint, Can you pick out the main points from the article? From the dense article, I managed to pick out the key arguments presented by the author. It can be challenging to pick out relevant information from a lengthy research paper. Make out. To understand or discern the meaning of a text, especially if it's difficult. Synonym 4. Make out. Discern, understand, comprehend, interpret, grasp, decipher. Despite the complex terminology, I could make out the main thesis of the scientific paper. The handwriting was so messy, it was hard to make out what was written. With some effort, I was able to make out the meaning of the poem, even though it was written in an old dialect. Jot down. To quickly write or note something from a text. Synonym 4. Jot down. Note, write down, record, scribble, document, log. As the lecturer spoke, I quickly jotted down the main points of the presentation. Jot down the key ideas as you read the article. Before I forget, let me jot down the author's name of that book you recommended. Bring up. To mention or refer to a specific point or topic in a text. Synonym 4. Bring up. Mention, raise, introduce, broach, cite, refer to. The speaker brought up an interesting point during the discussion that sparked further debate. In the meeting, I planned to bring up the issue of budget allocation for our department. The author brings up an interesting argument in the last chapter. Refer back to. To go back and check a previous part of a text for information. Synonym 4. Refer back to. Consult, return to, go back to, revisit, review, check. The lecturer encouraged us to refer back to the textbook for additional examples and explanations. While writing the report, I needed to refer back to the earlier chapters for context. If you forget a term, you can refer back to the glossary at the end. Sum up. To provide a concise summary or overview of a text. Synonym 4. Sum up. Recap, recapitulate, synopsize, outline, conclude, recapitulate. Can you sum up the key findings of the research paper in a few sentences? Let me sum up the main points of the chapter for you. Can you sum up the main points of the chapter? Skim through. To quickly glance over a text to get a general idea. Synonym 4. Skim through. Scan, glance through, flip through, browse, run through, speed read. I don't have much time, so I'll just skim through the report to get an idea of its contents. Skim through the article before the meeting so you're familiar with the content. She skimmed through the textbook before the exam to refresh her memory. Leaf through. To casually flip through the pages of a book or document. Synonym 4. Leaf through. Browse, flip through, thumb through, skim through, scan, peruse. While waiting for her appointment, she leisurely leafed through the magazine in the waiting room. He liked to leaf through old photo albums to reminisce about his childhood. She was leafing through the magazine while waiting for her appointment. Dive into. To start reading a text enthusiastically and with great interest. Synonym 4. Dive into. Immerse in, engage in, plunge into, submerge in, delve into, explore. After receiving the book as a gift, she couldn't wait to dive into the story. As soon as the latest issue arrived, he eagerly dove into the articles. I can't wait to dive into the new novel I just bought. Cite from. To quote or mention specific passages from a text. Synonym 4. Cite from. Quote from, reference from, extract from, mention from, allude to, refer from. The historian cited from primary sources to provide evidence for her thesis. In her essay, she cited from several scholarly articles to support her argument. The researcher cited from various studies to support their argument. You can find playlists for various languages in the video description. To practice the vocabulary, you are encouraged to explore our various apps. Links to these are also included in the description. If you found something new or interesting, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section and provide your valuable feedback. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more educational content.